Okay then, so you can see behind me, I'm prepping this room at the moment, and there's quite a few cracks here and there, so I'll be using a mesh tape to seal those cracks and skim over them. Today I'm using Gyproc FibaTape Perfect Finish. This tape is 30% thinner than standard mesh tapes I've used in the past. The idea in that is so it's easy to skim out, because you know yourself, if you used these before, sometimes you've got to skim them and you realise there's like a lip, so you've got to skim them again, sometimes with 3 or 4 skims. So the idea of this being thinner, less skims, quicker turnaround time, and it's also got a 30% extra weave as well, so it makes it a lot tighter and support your crack a lot better as well. So yeah, I'll be using that on the cracks on these walls here, and also using with it, I'll be using the Gyproc Easy Filler to skim over it. Obviously fill the crack first, skim over the mesh and just feather it out, then sand it, and it's all good to paint. So let's get cracking. Yeah, so we have the crack here, which is a slight movement there on the board. So first job with this tool here, I'm going to rake out the crack. But you don't want to be filling on a hairline crack, because basically just filling over, the crack will come back. So first off, you rake it out to make a nice V shape. It gives you a nice gap where you can get the filler into. So that there, just get any loose bits there off there. So that's the crack raked out into a nice V shape. Now for the next step. Okay, the next step is to fill the crack with the Easy Filler. Basically, just so it's even with the surface. There we are, so that's all filled even to the surface. The reason for doing this is because if you didn't do it when you put the scrim tape on, basically the tape might sink into the crack and there's nothing behind it to support it. So basically do that in there with the Easy Fill, let it dry, then you put the scrim and tape on top. This alone will not fix the crack, because obviously there's movement there and you want the scrim tape to knit these two areas back together. So I'll let that dry before going on to the next step. Okay, so the filler is now dry and it's now time to put the tape on. So it's the self-adhesive tape, and you can see there, you can see that obviously what I mentioned before, that there's 30% more weave, and there's definitely a lot more, so that's going to support the crack even more. So basically, first things first, get that over your crack, nice and simple, like so. And first I'm noticing it's sticking really well to the wall, which is all good. Trim off the excess. That's got a really good hold on the wall. And like I say, just rub my hand, you can feel how thin it is. Obviously you can't watch them, but with previous ones I've used, there's quite a lip, so hopefully this is going to just take a couple of skims out to make it nice and level with the wall, sand it down, then it's good to paint. So I'll get the Easy Filler out now and skim over it. Next phase, I've got the Gyproc Easy Filler. I want to skim over this for the first time. And straight away I'm noticing there's actually no lip at the moment, and I've only put a thin skim on there. So I'll just continue to do that down there. The secret is also, rather than just fill the tape, try and feather your filler out so it all blends in. So that's that first filled, and let that dry. Again, depending on the conditions, the heat in here, it might take a couple of hours to dry before I set and skim it. And I'm quite confident at the moment that once that's dry, I'll take one more skim, then sand, then I'll paint. Again, like I said, I mentioned, it's a lot thinner than standard mesh tapes. So like I say, I'll let that dry and give it a second skim very soon. one skim, and I was expecting to give it a second skim. Look at that, is smooth. So in the past, I've always been used to put the tape on, give it 2 skims, then sanding it. This is literally taking one skim, so saving time. So that is all sanded now, nice and smooth, no sign of the tape. Like as mentioned, it's 30% thinner than normal tape, so that's why it's doing this. So that's sanded now, and now we give it a coat of paint. Before I apply the paint to the walls, I get a coat of plaster primer onto the part I filled first. So I'm doing this first, let it dry, then I'll start painting. Okay, so it's all done. The ball's been painted, and I'm quite confident that crack is not going to come back. So just to go over a recap of what we've done is we found the crack, we raked the crack out into a V shape, we then filled it with Gyproc Easy Filler, let that go off a little bit, then we went over with the Gyproc FibaTape Perfect Finish, which as mentioned before, it's 30% thinner than standard fibre tapes, so it's easy to skim over. And I mentioned before as well, it's got 30% extra like knits as well, the weave basically, so it's going to hold that crack a lot tighter and better as well. So like I say, that went on, and then we skimmed over the top of it, skimming past the tape, so it like levels it out, so when you sand it, it's nice and smooth. Sometimes it takes 2 skims, but in this occasion I just took the 1, which I was really happy with, because again, saving time. So that was skimmed, then we sanded it back with a dustless sander, and then we basically was ready to paint. So that's had 2 or 3 coats of emulsion over the top, and that is really smooth. Can't feel where the tape was or the crack or nothing. So that, yeah, that's a finished job. So yeah, again, we used the Gyproc Easy Filler and the Gyproc FibaTape Perfect Finish, which as mentioned is 30% thinner than standard fibre tapes. Okay, so that's me done now, and I'll catch you later.